Hello, this is Alexis, and in this video I'm going to present my first impressions of the Leaperkim PATTON off-roading. These include things I really liked about the wheel and others not so much. I will also compare the PATTON against my current trail wheel, the Bigode Master Molicel, which I have been using for the past 6 months, both on-road and off-road. This video is brought to you by eRides. Thanks Afiz, Kevin and all the eRides team who kindly lent me the wheel. Check their website with the link in the description down below. I used the PATTON for around 60 miles in a span of 2 days. Off-roading with the Leaperkim PATTON included a mix of technical red and black mountain bike trails and features. Before we start, I have a confession to make. I have already pre-ordered a Bigode Extreme to be used together with my Master off-roading. After trying the PATTON, however, I have started to regret my decision. But let me explain. On paper, the PATTON didn't attract me much because of the height weight and high cost. Also, having the same suspension travel of the Master, I didn't think it would be complemented well enough. But, oh boy, I was so wrong. Now, let's start with the features that I enjoyed about the PATTON. The torque. Oh gosh, the torque on that machine is insane. It reminded me of my beloved Kingston 16X, whose acceleration was immediate and so much fun. The PATTON also is an incredible, capable climber. A proper ibex, I shall say, even more than my Molicel Master. At least, that was my impression when I took both wheels up the same incline. The body is built like a tank, really solid and stable with bolted-in protection in the right places. A few improvements on the matter could be made, but I will focus on that later. I know how sturdy the PATTON is because I forgot to change the side tilt angle from 40 to 70 degrees, and on a berm the PATTON beeped and switched off. I was wearing full gear, so all good, just a broken finger. It was completely my fault. The wheel smashed against the asphalt, but only resulted in scraped front protectors, light and a pedal. No major EUC component was affected by the crash. Moving on, I couldn't note any signs of torsional distortion or weakening of the frame when riding over gnarly terrains, doing drops and little jumps. The battery cases were guarded effectively, which is fundamental for safety, especially off-roading where crashes are the norm. Conversely, the frame on the Master is weaker. My Master motor is scratched because of the pedal hangers rubbing against it. In all fairness, this was also caused by the fact that I don't use the supportive kickstand, as I had a fall because a root was caught on it. Since then, I had removed it. Without it, wheels can weigh also a bit less, which is not a bad thing, given the average weight of these new-gen wheels. What it is definitely missing in the Master is a shell. Not only a strong one, but also a modular one, like we find in the PATTON. In fact, the PATTON is built in a way that the protective elements can be easily replaced, as they are screwed in. Very smart and convenient move from Leaperkim. Moreover, the body and the motor of the PATTON are water resistant, and the bearings are sealed from stock, which is fundamental in the UK weather, as it rains most of the time. Not worrying when riding in mud and puddles makes trail riding much more enjoyable, as I won't be forced to stop riding throughout the winter months and also after or during heavy showers. Unfortunately, I cannot do that with the Master, as a set of bearings were already replaced, as well as some rust was cleared from the motor. The major drawback of the quality build of the PATTON is that it is heavy. Over 39 kilos for a 12-inch rim wheel is unheard of. Heavier on paper than my 14-inch rim Master. Nevertheless, I was wrong to judge a wheel only by the specs, without trying it first. In fact, I must admit that I didn't feel the weight while riding. Only when I took it up and down the car or when pushing the wheel up or down steep trails after a fall. Overall, the Patton felt more nimble and agile than the Master. The extra weight, in conjunction with the knobby tire, can help stabilize the small rim at higher speeds, which the wheel is capable of, since the Patton free spin is of a whopping 65 miles per hour. The Patton uses a suspension fork system, which is placed on the lateral sides of the unicycle, but centrally located, which makes the wheel really well balanced. However, I could feel my legs digging a bit sharply onto the shell edges that confined with the tubes. But it wasn't a deal breaker. Both the Patton and the Master have 80 millimeters of wheel travel. The Master has a similar structure to the S22, with a linkage and shock absorber placed at the rear of the EUC, which makes it unbalanced as it is heavier on the back. Conversely, linkages and shocks are more easily swappable. In fact, I had changed my linkage with a Kuba and my stock shock with a Fox float. With that, the ride feels more solid and progressive. Nevertheless, both the Masters and the Patton's shocks bottomed out on big drops and small jumps, but it was expected. Both systems didn't disappoint. On the contrary, they felt very plush. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. The Patton I was testing had forks with 62 lips set up, but they can be changed to higher 66, which can result in a less comfortable ride, but less likely to bottom out. When I was testing the Patton, I think it was set at one of the softer options, but I didn't change it because I was afraid of getting one fork with a different feel than the other, as it didn't seem a straightforward process to get them equally set up. Therefore, I left it. I didn't want to spend the rest of my day trying to mess around with it. Some might love that, but I quite like a symmetrical feel. Similarly, with changing the angle on the pedals, sometimes it can be quite tricky to get the same degree on both sides, and after trying for a while, it's frustrating. On the other hand, changing the settings on the Master is more straightforward, especially with the Fox shock. I turn the knob with 2 fingers and the ride feel has completely changed. Both lights on the Patton work well enough. I like the choice of putting 2 separate rear circles to enhance the turning visibility. I wish the brake and front lights were brighter and with different settings to maximize visibility according to different situations. For instance, the possibility to have flashing lights to attract more attention during the day, like it is already possible in the bigodi wheels, or to increase the brightness to be able to ride off-road at night. Leaperkim plug-and-play light exchange method, seen also on the previous models, works very well and is convenient. The Master lights, instead, are almost useless, especially the one on the back, so I'd better not comment on that. The trolley handle on the Patton feels sturdy and comfortable. Although it is located on the rear of the wheel, it is easy to maneuver due to the fact that the wheel is centrally balanced. It is also stiff to pull up, but I guess that is done on purpose to avoid any incidental loosening during drops or jumps. On the contrary, the Master trolley handle is more flimsy and less rigid. It jumps up on hard landings, so I had to put a Velcro strap on it to keep it in place. The mechanism broke after a while, so I am struggling to lock it down properly at times. However, it is still strong enough to lift the wheel when needed. The mudguard on the Patton is long and protects the heatsink and the rear of the wheel. The front light got dirty after a day of riding on muddy terrains, but it wasn't a particular issue for me. I'm not sure how the mudguard is connected to the inside of the wheel. I hope it is easily swappable in case it gets damaged, and it won't have an impact on other more important components, such as the motor cable. I would have preferred a more flexible modular mudguard on both ends, and the current solid plastic material only on the central part, in case something gets stuck or the mudguards were to get hit, as it sits very low on the back of the Patton. The Master has a metal piece to protect the inside of the wheel that can break on hard bottom outs, as it lacks flexibility. Also, there is nothing to protect the front, including the lights and heatsink, and the back, which ends up in the rider getting soaked. I have added pieces of a milk container, which works fairly decently. And in line with this final consideration on the mudguard, I will continue talking about the things that I wish would be improved or changed in the pattern. First, I would like the pattern to be even more modular. To have easily replaceable lights and protection is an excellent start. But I don't think it should end here, especially when the pattern comes at a premium price. What I would like to see on the pattern is the protection system separated from the foot holder and kickstand, in addition to a soft TPU panel to make the sides of the wheel flat and a few centimeters larger to be able to put third-party power pads or nothing if that's the preference. Also, without those foot holders, it would be easier to ride seated. Maybe one day I'd like to try and ride with my feet more forward. Maybe I'd like to try jump pads or to have a lower stance. With a flat panel, there is potential for full customization. What if I don't need the kickstand? Or I'd like to remove it to decrease the wheel weight? At this stage, it would be possible, but at the expense of having to remove essential and useful battery protectors. Making different attachment for those elements would be beneficial to adapt to individual preferences. Every rider has different styles and riding needs. The key aspect to achieve this would be to implement modular components so that riders can have the ability to pick and choose different setups on their wheel, according to personal preference. I think it is kind of essential at this stage, where the prices and the competition are both very high. Second, I would like that the height of the back and front handles were to be increased to better reach the charging port and the trolley handle. The width of the sidebars protecting the front light should be also augmented, because when I drop the pattern, the cover protecting the light got scratched. Third, the sound of the screen buttons is way too loud for my likings. For instance, turning off or on the wheel at night inside my flat would wake up my roommates straight away. I would love the option to decrease such volume without impacting on the sound of the alarms, as the latter should be as loud as possible. Fourth, this is the most important feature for my riding style. The thing where the master excels the most so far, that is high pedal height. I ride a lot of trails, which are quite technical. Sky-high pedal height gives me the confidence to ride on the gnarliest of terrains and rockiest of descents. If Leaperkim were to implement an adjustable higher pedal height option to match or even surpass the one of the master, then I will seriously be thinking about the pattern as my main off-road wheel. Perhaps even instead of my master. For now though, it stays only my dreams. Note that some of these points have been highlighted already to Leaperkim, and they might be implemented in the first mass production batch. Finally, 2 tips when riding with the Patton off-road are: 1. Be aware of the side tilt angle. 2. Switch off the high-speed mode. If you have the side tilt angle set to the highest of 70 degrees, I would suggest to switch off the high-speed mode, because if the wheel were to fall, the tire spins insanely fast, which can be hazardous if our bodies were to land too close to it. So, better if the pattern switches off sooner rather than later. In conclusion, I was really impressed with the 12-rim Leaperkim PATTON as an off-road wheel because of its immense torque, its water-resistant properties, how solidly it is built, the plush suspension, and the protective and useful handlebars. Nevertheless, the master still wins in regards of pedal height, so for now that will remain my main off-road companion. Once I receive my Bigode Extreme, I will definitely compare it against the Leaperkim PATTON and see which one will fulfill better my riding style and needs. I do wonder though, which one will have the highest pedal setup? Have a good one. Ciao ciao!